Hey, welcome to Dan's ADV. In this video, I'm going to cover trailer restraint systems and tie downs for motorcycles. I've been doing this for a lot of years. As you can see from some of these pictures, I've done everything from crazy triple towing to big bikes on lawn trailers, all the way to our current setup where we've taken 9 motorcycles to Moab from Oklahoma. We've trailered everything from dirt bikes all the way up to 1290 Super Adventure R motorcycles. So I've learned a few things along the way, things I'd do different, a few tips and tricks that I'd like to show you. So in this video, I'm going to cover tie downs, which is where most of us start with. If you are using ratchet strap tie downs, I do have a few little things that might make your life easier. And then our group moved from that all the way to the other extreme. We went full Pitt Bull, and these are amazing. They're super expensive, super heavy, and they're bike specific. Cost you some money to switch between them. I'll talk about that later. And then we recently added a Stark Varg dirt bike to our group, and Pitt Bull doesn't make a pin set for that. So we went with the Moto Cinch and really liked the idea. It's cheaper, it's lighter, and it's actually quicker to load in and out. Has some advantages and disadvantages that we'll talk about. And then when I saw that system, I actually invented a little cheap Harbor Freight system for our 250F that we ride. So that's what this video is about. If you like this kind of content, of course, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Let's talk about ratchet straps for a minute. This is probably where we all start. I've used ratchet straps for many years, and I've had some bad experiences. I've had bikes fall over, and it seems like it's a mystery. You always wonder, well, did I tie it down right? Was it a bad tie down point? Did the ratchet strap fail? I've had them fall over and with no obvious failures. And so in any case, I end up using probably 4 ratchet straps on long trips to be safe. I know it's overkill, but just having some redundancy, have 2 off the forks and 2 off the back. I do really like having self-retracting straps. This just, from an organization standpoint, from a trip hazard standpoint in your trailer, these are super nice. They will get out of your way when they're being stored, and that you just zip them out and get them started. The other thing that I feel like is a must on a ratchet strap is this little clip right here. For trailering anything that has a suspension compressed, what happens if you don't have that little clip and you're hooked around something, as soon as the trailer bounces, it can pop off. And I've seen that happen. So this little clip is quite important in my mind. If you don't do that, I have been known to take zip ties on long trips and zip tie the clip to the tie down point, just so that bounce does not happen. And then there's a couple other little tricks with these I'll show you next. Okay, a few tricks when you're using ratchet straps and you're trying to find a place to tie down on your motorcycle. If you can get a set of ratchet straps that has these are Rhino. These are super nice because you get the clip away from your bike. Maybe it doesn't matter as much on dirt bikes, but on street bikes and stuff, you're trying not to scratch the bike. So this gets this hard metal scratch item away from your bike. In lieu of that, there's a couple other tricks that I've found over the years. If you don't have one of the soft straps, you can actually make a soft strap out of any tie down by running it through and then poking the strap through the hole, the eye hole in the clip, and then around the hook and then back. That becomes a secure point that also gets this metal clip away from your motorcycle. So I do that quite often. For speed and convenience, you can actually use these little clips. I've got these off of Amazon. There are some brand name ones, but they're quite cheap. And if you don't mind putting a little hook on your bike on the fork tube, you can just clip on like that. And that's certainly secure and good enough for dirt bikes. The Pitt Bull stands consist of kind of 3 main elements. You have your plate, which you have to mount to the floor, and these have to stay. So your trailer is always going to have that surface, but it's no big deal. And then these are the clips that go under those, snap in, and these are going to accept the actual stand. And then this is your Pitt Bull stand, and these pins are motorcycle specific, whereas the stand is not. So when you change motorcycles, that's about $120 worth of pins, depending on the bike, somewhere between $110 and $150. You get a pin set, and it goes in there, and then I'll show you how to load the bike. What I typically do is get the bike in place, roughly in the middle. We've done this with 890s and 1290s and 300s and 500s, so we've done a lot. I usually leave the right side, just personal preference. I just leave it all clipped, and I only undo the left side. You're just going to slip that in your axle and slip the other end in. Put in your pin. Now they show you doing this outside the trailer, and you can use this little clip and then drive in, but I find it's easier just to do it in the trailer and then just roll the bike forward into place. And with a little bit of fiddling, you now have a loaded, secure bike. And like I said, we've done this with bikes all the way up to this 1290 size. Zero suspension compression. So no load on the suspension, incredibly stable, incredibly robust, a little bit of extra time and a lot of extra expense, but that is a solid solution. Okay, this is the Moto Cinch system. Surprisingly lightweight. It looks like it'd be heavy. It's pretty lightweight. Again, it's E-track. You just snap it into the E-track. It actually has a pin that secures the foot peg. So when you go over the foot peg, go through, that pin goes through the foot peg. Now, I just discovered, I tried to use the Husky for this, the same one I used for the Pitt Bull demo, and its foot pegs won't work. So be mindful, this will not work with all foot pegs. You leave it open, and then you do the other side. Again, it's snapped into the E-track. Again, make sure the pin goes through the foot peg. And then you just pull on this lever, which compresses the suspension just a little bit. And there's a strap to keep that lever from popping down as you travel. And you have a loaded bike. And that is super solid. I mean, it's got a little wiggle to it, but it's not compressing the suspension too much. It is adjustable with this bolt here. Take this bolt out, you have 4 levels of adjustment, and I'm sure their website has all kinds of measurements so you know which one to order. But that's the Moto Cinch system. It's about 179 bucks. So this is my Harbor Freight design. We've got an E-track clip. We've got a quick connect chain link. We have what's left of one side of a trailer restraint, rated at like 3,400 pounds or something. Pop that in your E-track and pop that over your foot peg. Okay, to use the homemade Harbor Freight system, first you take one extremely dirty motorcycle, put up the kickstand, lean it towards you, and slip the trailer restraint clip over a foot peg, then just lean it away from you. Do the same on the other side. You have a loaded bike. Now, I would probably on this bike, using this quick link, I could move up another chain link, and that would give me a little more compression, but that bike's not going anywhere. And then to unload it, you just reverse the process. Pretty simple. Unloaded bike. So a few pros and cons, final thoughts, recommendations, if you will, on the trailer restraint systems. Pitt Bull's your most expensive. 380 bucks is a lot to spend on a trailer restraint. As far as speed in and out, it's faster than Ratchet Straps. It's slower than the other two. They're heavy, they're a little cumbersome, but they are very, very solid. If you ask me which system I would have the most confidence in for a cross-country trip, I would have most confidence in this. The other advantages is it does not compress the suspension at all. The disadvantage is these pins are bike specific, and if you're like our group and you're always changing motorcycles, it gets very expensive to keep buying pins every time you change bikes. They are, as far as setting up your trailer, you do have these plates in your trailer that have no other purpose. It's not like the E-Track systems. So, you know, something to think about, the pros and cons of that. Moto Cinch, very nice, professional. They actually have another system that's a little cheaper, I'll show on the screen, that's similar to my Harbor Freight system. Haven't had a ton of experience with them. Would I trust them with a big bike? Probably. I didn't find a real spec on their website on how big your bike can be, but do know that your foot peg has to fit in this cavity and the pin has to go through the foot peg, which did not work on the Husky 300 that I tried today for the first time. So great system, about half price, moving down, lightweight. It throws into, you know, a smaller storage cavity than what your Pitt Bull's going to store, and it's pretty quick in and out. And it works on E-Track, which E-Track is obviously multi-use throughout your trailer. So if you equip your trailer with E-Track, you can have tie-down points. You can use your trailer for all kinds of different things, unlike the plates. So there's an advantage there. Straps, no advantage to straps whatsoever in my mind. They are the most failure prone. They compress your suspension the most, and they I guess obviously they're the cheapest and they're easiest to store if you want that, but they also, in my experience, take the longest to tie in and out, and they're just a pain to deal with. But if you do use them, hopefully those tips that I showed you will be helpful. And then my little Harbor Freight system, this, I should say, this is for entertainment only. I cannot recommend that you actually do this. You go at your own risk, but if you look at the specs on Harbor Freight, you can get the weight. Like, I believe the trailer restraint is 3,400 pounds. The quick link is similar pounds, and the E-Track is the same as what Moto Cinch is using, same E-Track. So in any case, do your own research on your own bike. The advantage is obviously storage. It's super quick, it's super lightweight, it's super cheap, about $35 in parts. Disadvantage, depending on how you feel about having this pressed into your foot peg, and also how you feel about having your bike compressed. You will need to compress it. You could probably, it's not as fine tunable as this, but per link you can go about an inch of compression depending on the chain, in increments of about an inch. And you will need bolt cutters, because to cut this chain, otherwise you have this huge chain dangling, which is not a great. And I left myself a few links so that I could adjust to different bikes. Anyway, I hope you find this helpful, and have a great ride.